Welcome to the Veterans Archives podcast, where we honor our nation's veterans by preserving and sharing their stories. You can also hear Veterans Archives on Wreaths Across America Radio every Thursday at 5 p.m. To learn more about our mission, watch veteran interviews, or find out how to record a veteran story, please visit veteransarchives.org. And if you or a veteran you know needs support or resources, we encourage you to download the Battle Buddy app from vetlifetoday.org. Today is Wednesday, April 1st, 2026. We're talking with Jessica Linna, who served in the Michigan Army National Guard. So good afternoon, Jessica.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for having me in your home. I appreciate you doing this for us.
Thank you for coming.
All right. We'll start out real simple. When and where were you born?
I was born in Jackson, Michigan in January 29, 1981 at the old West Foot Hospital. I had to check that out with my mom.
Oh, okay. And so did you live in Jackson then? Did you grow up there?
Yep. My dad was transferred from the railroad. He worked for Conrail, the old train depot in Jackson. And he was transferred when I was in third grade. So we came out to the Plymouth Canton area. He worked for Norfolk Southern after that.
Okay. Was it a tough transition at that age to move out here? You just
Not really, actually, because we grew up in an area that had a bunch of gopher hills and molehills, so we didn't have any sidewalks to go and play or ride bikes. So we actually appreciated being out in the suburbs and having parks and sidewalks.
Yeah. What about brothers and sisters?
Yep, I'm the oldest of three. I had a younger sister, 2.5 years younger. She passed away 8 days before I graduated high school. And then I have my brother, who's about 4 years younger than me. He lives not too far away from here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So family kind of stuck around.
Oh, yeah. We're all here in Michigan. I can't wait until my kids are grown and I'm heading south. I need palm trees and sun and hopefully a beach.
Yeah. Not a lot of palm trees and sun in Michigan.
No. And my tortoise needs it too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So talk to me a little bit about growing up. What was it like for you as a kid?
Well, like I mentioned, my dad worked for Conrail and his father as well. And so I remember running around the old Jackson depot, which I know because I've taken the train to Chicago. They still stop there on the way. And it's always neat to see that. But I remember running around there and the old train charts that were super long and on paper. And he would bring them home sometimes, the expired ones, and we would trace our outline. You know, one of us three would lay down, we'd trace our outline and make like life-size paper doll out of it. So that was fun. And I'd catch salamanders and daddy longlegs, and I still love, critters, as long as they have 4 legs. Nothing less, nothing more.
Not snakes, then, right?
No snakes. And my daughter, when I said they have to have legs, she said, "Oh, well, can we have a millipede?" It's like, no.
Not a million legs, just 4, right?
Yeah, just 4.
Absolutely.
Just 4.
So what was school like? Did you play sports? Were you in clubs? Talk to me a little about school growing up.
I wasn't in sports. I did do brownies in 3rd grade, 4th grade, and my mom helped out with that. And then I did Girl Scouts for a year or two. I wasn't super athletic growing up. I was very active, but I've never had great aim. So the military helped me with that.
Yeah.
A lot of blood, sweat, and tears out on the range to do that. But we hung out a lot. We did a lot of projects and just family time, hanging out outside. And to this day, I prefer to be outside.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thus the reason you want to go south, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So what about high school? Talk to me a little bit about high school. How'd that go for you?
For the most part, not too bad. I kind of slacked off my 9th grade year, but my mom has always been quite the stickler, my mom and dad, but especially my mom, about doing your homework on time, getting good grades, doing good jobs on your projects, study as hard as you can. And so after 9th grade, I got back in line. And I I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I graduated. And then after the loss of my sister, I was a little bit lost for a while. And I had full-time jobs. I tried Schoolcraft College for a semester, I think. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And that's how I ended up enlisting.
I see. Would you mind talking about what happened to your sister?
She hung herself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. So you I hear this from a lot of military people, myself included, I tried college for like a semester or for like 10 minutes or whatever. It just wasn't.
Yeah. Not at that time.
Right.
And then you feel like you're wasting money and time. And my parents agreed to help me to get through at least community college, but I didn't know what I wanted to declare. And I actually had a good job. I was working at a weight loss clinic. I was a manager at a weight loss clinic for several years. So I made good money. It's not something that I wanted to do forever, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I wasn't irresponsible.
How did you end up in the National Guard as opposed to some of the other services?
Well, that's my mom again. She, my brother was big into cars. He still is, cars and motorcycles. And they were down in Milan, and he's very tall. And he looks like, at the time, he looked like he was older than he was. And the recruiter gave my mom some information, was trying to recruit him. And she let him know, like, oh, he's only 14 or 15, whatever he was. And she said, but I have a daughter. And so they gave her a brochure. And when my mom gave it to me, I probably rolled my eyes. I was like, yeah, whatever. Put it in the bottom of my purse. And it's probably about 6 months later or so when I was cleaning stuff out and I came across it. And I was like, what's it going to hurt? Go take the ASVAB, whatever. And next thing you know, I was raising my right hand.
All that quick, huh?
It wasn't too quick. Actually, the Air Force came knocking first, which is funny because, they don't always get the information that, you enlisted. So even after I'd been serving in the Army for a few years, you still had the Air Force calling. I'm like, no, I'm already actively engaged.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
So how fast was it from the time you raised your right hand to the time you went to basic training? Was it pretty quick?
That's a good question. So if they'd had their way, yes. I was able to negotiate taking the summer off. So I enlisted 3 months before 9/11. And many people have asked me, would you have changed your mind? And I've said, no. I didn't enlist because of patriotism necessarily. I didn't appreciate what I do today. I enlisted because I felt aimless, and I was raised to have a direction and to be a good citizen and contribute and have a purpose in life. So that's why I enlisted. And I appreciate now more today my service than I did back then. But no, I wouldn't have changed my mind.
So what was your MLS when you enlisted?
When I enlisted, it was a 91 whiskey, which the nomenclature changed. So I became a 68 whiskey, which is combat medic.
Okay. So you went to Texas then?
Yes. The good old, Fort Sam Houston. Yeah. Beautiful. It's awesome down there. Yes. The Riverwalk. Those were good times.
Yeah. So talk to me about, the first day of boot camp. Like when you got there, tell me what that was like for you.
Well, they did the shakedown, and I, because I was raised by my mom and both my parents, but especially my mom, follow the rules. So I packed according to the list. I didn't pack things I wasn't supposed to, but some people did. So the drill sergeant said, get off the bus, get off, hurry up. And they had us all in some sort of formation with our bags. And there was one girl who had packed a couple of wigs, and the drill sergeants were immediately on top of her and, mad at her and harassing her. So, they taught you quickly how to follow the rules.
Right. What was she going to do with wigs in basic training?
I don't know, but they attached one of them to the end of a mop handle and mopped the floor with it. So.
Yeah, so much for that, right? So if you think about basic training, what are some of the things that really stand out in your mind?
So our lead drill sergeant, his name was Drill Sergeant Mata, and he was short, but, built and could run forever. And he told us, you know what Mata means, soldiers? It means death. So we'd be like in our little room, like in the barracks, and like all of us, like, packed in there, and they'd be doing mail call and whatever. And yeah, he was pretty intense. He'd make us like try to, smoke us, like do push-ups and whatever. And there's no room to do that. That they were very entertained by that, I'm sure. And toward the end of the cycle, so I think the cycle is 9 weeks, 12 weeks, something like that. There was a drill sergeant, Densmore, and apparently he'd been to Panama and whatever else. He'd been involved in some stuff, but he was on the obstacle course, and he was like, Linna, where did you come from? I was like, I've been here the whole time, drill sergeant. He said, what? I never seen you before. You're espionage. You're infiltrating and whatnot. So I attribute that to the fact I didn't volunteer. I was told by my recruiter, don't volunteer. Right. Do what you're supposed to. Don't volunteer. Don't stick out. So I didn't. And my name is in the middle of the alphabet. And I did what I was told, stayed in line, and worked the hardest I could.
Flew in under the radar.
Yes. And he caught me, though, toward the end of the cycle. He's like, I got my eye. Yeah.
Now, so when you went there, was it like one unit training? So it was all medics, and then you went to AIT?
That was AIT, was in Fort Sam. So I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Fort Lost in the Wood, for basic training.
Been there, done that.
Yes. That's where I went to basic training. Okay. And another thing that sticks out is when we did the gas chamber with us at C4, I think.
CS gas.
C4
would have blown you up.
Okay, well, a CS was bad enough.
Yes, it was.
But they made us drink milk. We had lunch, and then we went to the gas chamber, and they made us drink milk that day. And I somehow pretended I did. I can't even remember, but I did not drink the milk. I knew better. Uh-huh. And so, of course, when they make you remove your mask when you're in there, like everyone comes out barfing and just nasty. There's nothing worse. Ugh.
Right.
But there's that. And like when we did our FTX at the end of the training, the 3-day FTX, they had us do a formation, and we were dressed. So we were all packed in. And then they made us sing the Star Spangled Banner, and they threw a can of CS in the middle. Fun times back then. They couldn't touch us by the time that I went in. They couldn't physically harm you, but they could make you harm yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, or mentally mess with you.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. There was a couple of times where we went to go out on like a road march, and, other soldiers hadn't listened and had their canteens or like been battle ready. They didn't have the equipment that they were supposed to, or had their canteens topped off.
Right.
And so they would make us go back and like chug everything we had, go back inside, fill it up, chug everything you had, go back inside, fill it up, until there was probably at least a third of the soldiers, a third of the privates that were puking.
Lesson learned, right?
Well, like they said, you got to check your battle buddy. So, right. As hard as that kind of stuff was, it does make you appreciate what they're trying to, they do a good job of breaking you down, but building you up as a team.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you have to have. I mean, there's no pretty way around it. If you're going to go to a war zone or what, you got to be prepared.
You got to look out for the person next to you, whether you like them or not.
That's right. Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Yep. So you graduated from basic. Did your family come down for your graduation at all?
Yes, to Fort Leonard Wood. Yes, they did. And so they saw me graduate basic training, and then I went to Fort Sam, and they didn't see me graduate from that, but they came down around Easter, and then, because the medic school is like 6 months. So they came down around Easter, and we graduated like at the beginning of May. So yes, They were very supportive the whole time. And my mom she's the one who gave me the brochure after they tried to recruit my brother.
Right.
So especially after 9/11, I'm sure she was kicking herself. And then when we deployed 06 through 7, I know she didn't sleep well. And being a mom myself now, I understand why. They've always been very supportive. And my extended family, aunts, uncles, sending care packages.
What year did you go into the military?
2001. So June 21, 2001.
Okay. Yeah, like literally right before.
Right before 9/11. When we were in reception, so we were there for like 8 days, I think, before we went downrange and actually started basic training. And so the reception period doesn't count.
Right.
Yeah. But about 8 days long. So we were in this big hall waiting to get measured for your uniforms, for your boots, your financial and insurance information, all of that in order. And they had us sitting on very skinny, hard wooden benches in between times to hurry up and wait. And they had huge TVs in each corner of the reception area. And they were playing, we had 24-hour news cycle back then, and they were playing over and over the towers falling. Yeah. So, I kind of knew, yep.
It's going to be a little bit different experience. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you go to AIT, you qualified as a medic.
Yes.
Yeah. And so talk to me about that experience.
When I took the ASVAB, I qualified for what they needed. It was either medic or military police. And I chose medic because it was a couple $1,000s more for the bonus.
Right.
And actually, it was a really good deal. My military service paid for my nursing degree. I graduated debt-free. And I have friends my age who are still paying back student loans. Yeah. But I really enjoyed my experience overall. I think, there's hard parts of having served and things that I still have to work on. And I still startle easy, that's 20 years later after being out of Iraq. I don't think that'll ever go away. But if I could go back and change anything, I would not. I think overall it was a really good experience. Being down at Fort Sam back then, I've heard that it's changed since then. But once you pass the first month of training and got your EMT, you can work on an ambulance, the civilian side of things. So before you get to the combat medic stuff, if you pass all of that on time, they let you go out on the weekends. So we went downtown San Antonio every weekend. We had a great time. There's this place called Dirty Nellie's. It was right off the Riverwalk. And it's funny because it was literally just steps away from the river. Thankfully, the river was man-made, so it was only a couple feet deep. Right. But it was every weekend. Some dummy would, have imbibed too much and fall into the river. So just silly, fun times. I had some good people down there. Our drill sergeants were very supportive. Our instructors. It was a good time. Mm-hmm.
And then, so what unit did you come to here in Michigan, the first unit?
I was trying to look that up, and I couldn't figure it out. It was something Charlie, 91st Charlie or 95, I can't remember. But just the medic nomenclature, the unit name changed a few years after I was in. So we started off at the Detroit Light Guard Armory off of Ryan and East 8 Mile. Yeah. You know where that is?
Yes.
Yep. So we started off there, and then they renamed us to the 1171st Area Support Medical Company, which is kind of like a MASH unit. Mm-hmm. So you've got dental, lab, x-ray, a little bit of everything. And while we were in Baghdad, the rear support moved our unit over to the old Signal Battalion in Ypsilanti, which is where they remain today.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, my boyfriend's daughter is a medic in the Army National Guard, and she's about to transfer into that unit from, I think, Saginaw is where she's at right now.
Yeah, I remember when it was a signal unit, actually.
Okay, yep.
So you got to your unit in 2002 then, that time frame after AIT?
Yes, beginning of 2002.
So you're there for a couple of years before you actually deployed then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, I was in my third year out of 4 for my bachelor's in nursing, which was very unnerving at the time. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I have kids. I love my children, but I knew I did not want to work in OBGYN or pediatrics.
Right.
And those are classes that I took before we deployed. So I was concerned that, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to fail my NCLEX, which is the nursing board. When I come home, as a year and a half, 2 years, I graduated like 2 years behind because of the deployment, and everything ended up being fine. But yes.
Let's take a quick break.
Before we continue, we'd like to share a resource that may be helpful to veterans and their families. The Battle Buddy app from vetlifetoday.org is designed to connect veterans with support, resources, and a community that understands their experiences. If you or a veteran you know could benefit from those resources, we encourage you to download the Battle Buddy app and learn more at vetlifetoday.org. So talk to me about deployment. Where did you deploy out of?
We deployed out of Detroit. My now ex-husband and I, actually, we were on like a short snippet of the news, Channel 4, one of
So
them.
were you married at the time you deployed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So you met your husband in the National Guard?
Yes.
Okay.
And didn't realize until after the fact, apparently, when there's one veteran involved, 70% of marriages end up in divorce. Do the math.
We don't have a great track record.
Well, and I get it now, but, when you're young and in love and whatnot. And he was really good with kids. There were a lot of the guys that would bring their sons and daughters and to drill weekend because they were also divorced.
Right.
And Mike was always very, very good with them. And so that's what drew my attention. Witty guy, very funny. Mm-hmm. And he reclassified as a medic. So he was originally 82nd Airborne and deployed within weeks of 9/11 happening. So he was regular Army. I was always National Guard till we deployed.
Okay.
And then when he came to my unit a few years later, so probably around 2004, 2003, something like that. Yeah.
So you deployed together. Where did you deploy to?
We deployed to Baghdad. So for the first 6 months, we were Western Baghdad. Mm-hmm. And for the second 6 months, we were Central Baghdad. So in like the green zone.
Right.
And we were in Saddam's largest Republican palace off, I believe, the Tigris. So seeing a lot of higher ups, a lot of traffic through there. When we were the first 6 months of our deployment in the western area of Baghdad, it was at Saddam's old hunting lodge. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many hunting lodges he has, but it was a nice one. It was by Al-Fal Palace off Camp Victory. And for the most part, Mike was on the ambulance crew, and I was one of the lead medics running a team in the clinic, which was preferred because I outranked him as well. So it's easier if you're not working side by side with your significant other, I think.
Somebody smart saw that, right? And
yes, but thankfully our commander. So that's one of the things too. That I didn't want to get married until after I finished nursing school, which I couldn't do until after the deployment. But we'd already been together for several years, and the military doesn't recognize boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance. You're either are or you aren't. And even then, our commander, Major Aganaga, still had to sign off on us working and residing together. Mm-hmm. So that was really nice to have him over there. Probably one of the least selfish things that he's ever done is to decide to go because it had been within 2 years of when he went to Afghanistan. So he didn't have to go. And it was very comforting having him over there. And we weren't the only married couple. We actually had... we called them Franks and Beans because we had another couple that I think they got married for the convenience where Mike and I were already together, but we're all divorced now.
Yeah. Now, you didn't have children when you deployed then, did you?
No,
Okay.
that's why I got out is in 2009, I was very pregnant with Sonia. She was born tax day, so April 15. She's about to be 17 years old. And so thankfully they make the uniforms for men, at least back then. So I didn't have to have a maternity uniform. It was plenty big.
Right.
And I got out like 8 days before I delivered her. I was my last row.
Okay. Well, talk to me a little bit about coming back from deployment. How was that for you?
I can remember, so like I said, the rear detachment moved us to Ypsilanti. And so when we flew back in, I think we went through Bangor, Maine again. We did on the way out, and I believe so on the way back, which was really awesome. The residents of Bangor somehow know or like keep track of units deploying and returning home. And there was like a whole reception line on the way out and on the way back. And when we left to fly over for the deployment, it was like a stupid time of day. It was like 10:30 at night or something. Yeah. And all of these residents showed up, and whether they're residents of Bangor or whatnot, like all of these people showed up with signs and support, and that was really, really awesome. And same thing on the way back. So when we landed in the States, they had us, I think we went on a bus, and then we went over to Fort McCoy, which I never cared to go back to again. And after we did our demobilization, which you just can't wait to get home. And then it's like another week stuck doing, exit stuff and whatever. Right. For good reason, but still, you're like, oh, can I just sign something and get me out of here? And then they had the Freedom Riders. So after Fort McCoy in Wisconsin, we came back toward Michigan. I think we picked up the Freedom Riders in about Battle Creek. And so a bunch of motorcycle guys that were like, that was really cool. And my parents were at the armory in Ypsi, and like I've still got pictures of that. It was very neat. Getting out of Iraq was not so neat. Oh my gosh. So they had BIAP, which was Baghdad International Airport, formerly Saddam Hussein Airport. And they didn't really use the hard structure. They had a bunch of tents set up, and like hard tents, but still. They kept us in theater. We were there up until like the last hour of 365 days. And then they don't want to have to pay a whole unit or combat and hazard duty pay. So they make sure you make it out eventually. But we were set to go home 3 days prior to that. So for 3 days, we slept in the tented area, hearing rockets and mortars and dirt. And if we were hungry, an MRE, and just hoping that we'd make it out of there because our flight kept getting bumped. But we made it out.
Yeah, I feel like that area really wasn't set up to have people wait.
No.
It just didn't seem, and there's no scheduled flights either. They just come in and out, and if you're lucky, you get on one.
Yes.
I remember that mess. It was awful.
Yep. But at least, I talked to people who did the initial setup back, the initial invasion back in 2003. So by the time that we were there, we did have like the interceptor radar. Yeah. We had bunkers everywhere. We had HESCOs. We had T-walls. That still can only do so much, but we at least had all of that available.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the areas were more hardened than when they first went in.
Uh-huh.
So you come back, you go to your new armory with your unit, and you end up getting pregnant.
Well, that was planned.
At some point.
Yeah, that was planned. Yeah. But I really do miss serving. That's why I am involved at my VFW here in Plymouth. Yeah. I miss serving, but I didn't feel like it was conducive to having family plus kids. And my, their dad was still serving at the time. So at least I knew that I would be safe and home.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you made that hard decision to get out really close to actually having your first child.
Well, that, and I had just graduated nursing school. I could have went to OCS, and
Right.
I'm a go-getter. I'm type A. I'm like, work as hard as you can. So I could have really probably went pretty far. So, I don't have regret necessarily, but curiosity about what that would have looked like.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we don't get to look at the choices
Nope.
we didn't make, right?
Sure don't.
We can only look at the choices.
I'm happy enough with the choices I made. So.
Absolutely. That's the key.
Yes.
That's the key. We can think about what would have happened. But it doesn't matter at this point.
Right.
So you had your daughter in 2009. Let me ask you this, though. So I know you were pregnant and you were getting out and you'd graduated nursing school, but what was it like? You had served for how many years then? So
9 years, right? 9 years?
Yeah, you were pretty close to that halfway point.
Yeah.
What was it like when you put that uniform on for what you knew was going to be the last time? Like you knew, I'm not ever putting this uniform on again.
Well, actually, I did put the uniform on again, but obviously I know to be respectful and not wear, my rank and whatever. But when I went trick-or-treating with my kids or, they actually do a really nice Veterans Day week up at my son's school. So I have worn my uniform again. Don't fit into my class A's. They starved me to death for those.
Right.
So they're in my closet. But the last time showing up to drill and participating, it's bittersweet. There's nothing like serving in the military. There's times where it's very frustrating, especially the hurry up and wait. And because I work for the federal government still. I have a real appreciation for that, though. I feel like compared to some of my coworkers, I'm used to how things operate. It's a big bureaucracy. Things are always changing. I swear, when we were in Baghdad, they used to have a formation to discuss that they were moving the formation later to this time. It was just insane. It was, we'd always call it. We'd say, okay, we're going to formation for change number 499.
Right.
No.
Right.
But it was bittersweet.
So did you take you graduated, but when did you take your nursing boards then?
I would know I was super pregnant and I was so worried because you can't leave the room. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to pee.
Right.
So I tried to stay dehydrated for that. I think the spring, or no, it wouldn't. Let me see. We came back. Okay. So probably the spring or late summer, maybe. I can't totally remember, of 2008. And I graduated that winter.
Okay.
So, yep.
All right. So then after you have your daughter, then you're ready to start being a nurse.
Oh, yeah. And I was. I still remember working for now it's Corwell after Beaumont. I worked for Oakwood Annapolis back years ago in Wayne in the ICU. And I still remember waddling around there being pregnant as the new graduate nurse. And all of my coworkers were awesome. You've got different germs and, creepy crawlies like C. diff and whatever. So when you're pregnant, you don't really want to be exposed to that. So they would make sure to give me an assignment where I wasn't as exposed. Mm-hmm. And then when I had Sonia, my daughter, I remember bringing her up there and introducing her to, my coworkers and whatnot. And yep.
So how long did you work there?
5 years total, I think. Okay. So when I was in nursing school, I was a nurse extern, which you're kind of working under the license of a senior nurse. And you're limited in scope, but you learn a lot that way while you're going through school. And then I stayed there as a graduate nurse for a couple of years. Okay. And then it wasn't run very well. I'll just put it that way. There were lawsuits after the fact, not from me, but class action stuff, right, from staffing issues and whatnot. So they actually burnt me out, and I went to home care. I did home care for over a dozen years, mm-hmm, which I dearly miss. But that's a hard thing because they pay per case, and when the paperwork gets to be, double the time, you're still. So I would have made more money working up at the local Taco Bell. So
Right.
I left that, and now I'm at the VA, which I love. But I really do like being outside. I love being in the community. So I am looking to go back to home care, but for the VA. I won't leave the VA.
Right. It's a great place to work.
Oh my gosh, yes. The private sector, because it's for profit, it's a tough thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's getting tougher.
So tell me about your son. When was he born?
Octavian was born on Mother's Day, yes, which was super cool. May 9 of 2013. So
Okay.
he's about to be 13. And
It's a magical age.
Yes, and he's starting tackle football this year. They're both very loving, sweet kids. I've been very fortunate. We've had our challenges, but they're both good kids.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So tell me about his name. That's an interesting name.
Oh, Octavian.
Yes.
I'm glad you asked. So when Mike and I were in Baghdad, Sonia and Octavian, we came up with both of their names then, and that was in 06, 07, and Sonia wasn't born till 09, and then him 2013. And we came up with their names then, and we stuck with it. So Octavian, the HBO series Rome, did you watch it?
I did not, but I know what you're talking about.
Yes. Yep. So Octavius Augustus, and Octavian itself is quite elaborate. But, so we went with that instead of Octavius.
Right.
But we had said if the girl Octavia and boy, and so that's how we got his name. And then Sonia was named after a bomb sniffing dog. It was the Belgian Malinois. She was blonde, beautiful dog. And there's not much, it's almost like a glorified prison life when you're deployed.
Absolutely.
You know, you wear the same thing, eat at the same place. Yeah. At any rate, and you're under attack. There wasn't a whole lot to do in the spare time. So our hooch, or the place where we lived, wasn't too far away from the dog compound. And so my mom would send me dog treats, and we'd go over there and, play with the dogs and whatever. And the one time when we were walking away, I had mentioned to Mike, I was like, that's such a pretty name, Sonia. I really like that name, and he did too. So...
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it was nice. No arguments. The only argument we had is I wanted Sonia and Sonja, like the European way.
Right.
So he won the battle. It's Sonia, Sonya. Got to compromise.
There you go. And then, if you don't mind my asking, so when did you and your husband actually split up?
Oh yeah, no, not at all. 2014. 2014. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Just as a veteran, I get my primary care in Ann Arbor, and I have a doctor on the 7th floor, and I'm okay talking about that because it's, I don't think you can go through a war zone and not have some sort of change. And that's a hard thing to deal with, especially if you've had hardships in your regular civilian life.
Yeah. So
you have that on top, and people only have so much. And I feel like my limit is pretty high, but thankfully I've recognized where my limit is, that I'm there. But unfortunately, Mike did not. So he served in Afghanistan before I met him, and then we served together in Iraq. And he's got work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So it's you and the kids, and
my mom. My mom is like the dad.
Okay.
Which kind of stinks because she's doesn't really get to do the grandma role as much, but thank God for her. Otherwise I have to work full time. I'm it financially and physically. I'm it. I'm grateful for my job. But like I said, it takes its toll, working full time. And during COVID, my dad, he was on his way to an AA meeting. He'd been recovered alcoholic since my sister died back in 99. And he was on his way to a meeting at Garden City Park. and was hit while he was riding his bicycle. And he's a motorcyclist, so he was in the right, but it doesn't really matter. It's just a fact.
Right.
So thankfully, at least, he didn't suffer. It was instant, hitting death, and the guy stopped and whatever. But it was a tough time because COVID shut the schools down. My mom is not a morning person, on top of losing her husband, and she'd already lost, my sister, her daughter.
Right.
And so she's coming over trying to help the kids online. And back then, Octavian was only in like second grade, I think. Like, oh, what a nightmare. We've made it through some stuff.
Thank God for family, though.
Oh, right? I tell my mom all the time, I could not do it without her. Yeah. No way. Mm-mm. No, I would be doing it somewhere, not as well as it is here.
Well, that's good that you have her then.
Yes.
Yeah. So what kind of nursing do you do at the VA?
I'm a float nurse. So I kind of like, probably back from when I did home care, I like a dynamic situation. I don't like going to the same place every day. Yeah. I like a little bit of a mix. I love people. But, there's some people, some coworkers that are more difficult to work with. So the nice thing is I don't get involved in politics because I'm never in the same place for long enough. So I see a little bit of everyone, and some people I miss seeing them, but yeah.
You don't have to get involved in their drama.
That's right.
That's nice.
That's right. And I'm always like extra. So for the most part, people appreciate that. The hard part about being a float nurse, though, is that when you've got patients that have been there for a while and they're difficult patients or heavy, the regular floor staff is like, oh, the float nurse is here. Yeah.
Here's all the fun stuff to do. Yeah.
Here's the admission. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we've covered a lot. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you wanted to make sure that we talked about during our conversation?
I made some notes.
Yeah.
I feel like you asked all the right questions. No.
All right.
I feel like we talked about all of it.
So then really, I just have one question left for you. And that is, someone watching this or listening to this 100 years from now, when neither one of us are here, right? What message would you have for them? What would you like them to take away from our conversation today and really your life and the way you lived it?
To do the best that you can and to care about other people, regardless of the boxes you check and, the things you acquire in life. Be a good human, take care of other people, pay attention to other people, like even just standing in line at the grocery store. If someone is in, a scooter and they're having trouble putting their groceries on the belt, like help them, basic stuff.
Yeah. Be a good human. I really like that. All right. Well, thanks, Jessica, for taking time out today to sit and talk with me.
Thank you, Bill.
I really appreciate it.
Oh, me too. Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening to the Veterans Archives podcast and for helping us honor the service and sacrifice of our nation's veterans. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with others so more people can hear these important stories. To learn more about our mission, watch additional veteran interviews, or find out how to record a veteran story, please visit veteransarchives.org. And if you or a veteran you know needs support or resources, we encourage you to download the Battle Buddy app from vetlifetoday.org. You can also hear Veterans Archives on Wreaths Across America Radio every Thursday at 5 p.m.